Hello. Today we're going to be reading some SCP. Hopefully I start getting better at this. Already have one selected here. Oh, there we go again. Oh boy. We good? Okay. Item number SCP-5868. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures SCP-5856 has currently been obtained from GOI-952, Only Ironworks. Under a Foundation front, all former employees of SCP-5868 are to be retained to facilitate containment. All employees are to work under impression that SCP-5868 is still owned by GOI-952. Shifts are to ensure that SCP-5868 is manned at all times. Overtime, holiday bonuses, and other incentives may be used at the discretion of the head researcher. Employees of SCP-5868 are to be retained at all costs. D-Class may be used to replace deceased employees. D-Class who have formerly worked in the meatpacking industry are to be screened for this purpose. Employees of SCP-5868 will be directed to continue processing all instances of SCP-5868-2, regardless of appearance. Hazards inherent or other status, notable instances of SCP-5868-2 are to be delivered to and retained at Site-156 and cataloged before being incinerated. All other instances of SCP-5868-2 are to be incinerated on-site after being fully packaged. Employees of SCP-5868 are to wear Class C hazmat containment gear at all times when on the SCP-5868 property. Employees charged with unloading SCP-5868 are to be instructed to not make contact with the SCP-5868-1. All deliveries of SCP-5868-2 are to be unloaded without delay. SCP-5868 is to be supplied with no less than 10 backup generators. Under no circumstances should employees cease processing of SCP-5868-2 instances. Packages may be reused after the SCP-5868-2 instances are incinerated. If a backup occurs, D-Class are to be brought in to help the processing of additional SCP-5868-2 instances. If SCP-5868-2 instances are kept from being processed for longer than 6 hours, containment will no longer be necessary. Description: SCP-5868 is the only foods processing plant located at Rikers Valley, ME. What is that? ME. Records show that the anomalies started occurring on February 13th, 2016 at 5:35 a.m. with the first delivery by SCP-5868-1. SCP-5868 was seized by the Foundation front preferred options holding in hostile takeover on April 27, 2016. SCP-5868 shows no other anomalous aspect apart from the deliveries of SCP-5868-2 instances of SCP-5868-2 processed at the secondary location are sufficient to avoid increased deliveries from SCP-5868-1. SCP-5868-1 is a semi-trailer truck that manifests at the docking bay of SCP-5868 hourly. After idling for 55 minutes, SCP-5868-1 is immediately demanifests. All instances of SCP-5868-2 remaining inside SCP-5868-1 during demanifestation are left at the loading bay. Contact with SCP-5868-1, other than unloading SCP-5868-2, causes data expunged, which results in unnecessary interruption in the containment procedures. The interior of SCP-5868-1 has been shown to be larger on the inside, housing a number of SCP-5868-2 instances that would prove impossible in non-anomalous semi-trailer truck. SCP-5868-2 are cow, B. taurus carcasses. Instances of SCP-5868-2 are normally afflicted with rinderpest, morbillivirus, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, and infectious pododermatitis. Variations among SCP-5868-2 instances exist, although all have been shown to be genetically identical to a cow. When an instance of SCP-5868 is not processed and packaged within an hour, the next load delivered by SCP-5868-1 is greater in number than the previous delivery. This buildup is theorized to be able to render the Earth uninhabitable within 12 hours. However, recent models have shown that a 6-hour block would result in a backlog of SCP-5868-2 instances impossible to process within the time limit. Partial record of SCP-5868-2 variants. Date processed: June 15th, 2016, 12:35 p.m. A single SCP-5868 instance that resembled a mouse, M. musculus. Of note is this was the entirety of that hour's delivery. Date processed: November 2nd, 2016, 7:35 a.m. All 1,116 instances of SCP-5868-2 resembled the same adult human male. Of note is that the instances took the appearance of an employee of SCP-5868 who had data expunged after attempting to open SCP-5868-1's driver's side door an hour earlier. Date processed: March 22nd, 2017, 8:35 p.m. All 857 instances of SCP-5868-2 were shown to be highly radioactive. Over 66 employees were subjected to dangerous levels of gamma radiation. 4 employees succumbed to fatal radiation poisoning. The remaining 62 employees were able to continue work at a reduced capacity. Date processed: June 9th, 2018, 3:35 a.m. Deliveries contained 2,693 instances of SCP-5868-2, much higher than the average. All instances, however, were fetal. Date processed: October 18th, 2018, 11:35 a.m. All 1,451 instances of SCP-5868-2 had tongues and eyes made from wood. Analysis showed the wood to belong to an unknown species of Pinaceae family. In some instances, the wooden eyes appeared to have been roughly shoved into what was an empty socket while the cow was still living. Date processed: January 27th, 2019, 9:35 p.m. All 946 instances of SCP-5868-2 were contaminated with human fecal matter, in many cases filling all cavities. Testing revealed that the feces showed signs of purely beef-based diet. DNA tested showed that feces have been produced by the employee who had been data expunged on November 2nd, 2016. Date processed: April 20th, 2019. Each of the 1,097 instances of SCP-5868-2 were found to have 6 additional stomachs. Stomachs were found to be filled with an extremely acidic bile. 16 employees were injured, causing an unacceptable slowdown in process. 1 employee is rendered unable to work following this batch. Date processed: September 2nd, 2019, 7:35 p.m. All 869 instances of SCP-5868-2 were found to be boneless. No other abnormalities were found. Date processed: That October. Yeah. Is that September? Yeah, that's September. That one was July. September 11th, 2019, 10:35 p.m. Delivery consisted of 1 living SCP-5868-2 instance. Employees were instructed to slaughter it with the available tools. Instead of blood, beef-based gravy appeared to be flowing through the instance's veins. Processed as normal. Date processed. March 4th, 2020, 4:35 p.m. All 1,365 instances of SCP-5868-2 had tightly woven barbed wire in place of bones and organs. The barbed wire was shown to have severe rust damage. 13 of the instances also lacked a tongue. Date processed. July 19th, 2020, 1:35 a.m. All 971 instances of SCP-5868-2 were inside out with organs on the outside and skin on the inside. Instances were said to have smelled like freshly cut grass. Date processed. December 22nd, 2020, 5:35 a.m. All 1,172 instances of SCP-5868-2 vocalized despite being clearly deceased. Vocalizations did not cease during or after processing. Vocalizations were described as a human attempting to sound like a cow. I'm gonna take a break, or take a drink. 1 second. I'm back. Interview with William Gartley. The following interview took place on... God damn, I need to get those down. November 4th, 2016, with William Gartley, shift manager of SCP-5868. During the interview, William Gartley was under the impression that it was a performance review given by a company adjudicator. No attempt was made to correct this. This is all great, Bill, but could you please answer my questions about the first delivery? I mean, the issue with... Bill, you gotta rest easy. You're not being held accountable for the unsafe actions of one of your employees. You're fine. It's fine. This is about the first delivery you can remember. I think you understand what kind I'm talking about here. I'm not sure. Tell me about the black truck, Bill. This isn't a request. Oh, you mean that truck? Yes. It's what we're here to talk about, not your performance, not any workplace accidents. We want you to tell us everything you know about the truck. Is this a test? It's fine. You tell me about all of it and how you feel about it. Just this once. It's for archival purposes. This won't be marked on your personal record. Okay? There's a 32-second pause. WG clears his throat. It just came one day. That's it. We didn't have any other deliveries. There's a 14-second pause. Corporate told us to accept it. Free meat. They didn't know what was causing it and told me not to worry about it. It was free meat. Came from nowhere. Miraculous, really. This was before you noticed there was something wrong with the carcasses, right? There's nothing wrong with the carcasses. It's okay, Bill. This isn't a trap. Just talk plainly with me. They knew the meat was wrong from the first, but corporate decided that using the meat would result in so much profit that the money used to settle suits would be a pittance. They didn't realize how bad they were? I'm no expert. There's a 6-second pause. It just made economical sense to them. We had so many, and well, we realized pretty quickly what happened when you didn't. Well, someone at corporate seemed to know. Do you remember the person who let you know about that? That's good. You remember the person who let you know about that? You know what's funny? But no. You know, that's funny, but no. Honest. Not just saying that either. There were so many higher-ups calling about the truck and the meat. And the things that, well, you know, the meat sometimes did. How long did they try to use the carcasses? Didn't take long. Even the leather gives you these horrible welts. There's some chemicals on them. I don't know. They're wrong. Does it ever seem futile to you? What do you mean? just watching them pack the meat, watching them tan the flesh and crush the bones into feed. And then they burn it all. Does it seem futile? There's a 5-second pause. Things need to get done, no matter what. The rest of the interview contained no information applicable to containment. William Gartley has remained the shift manager of SCP-5868. He has continued to be an exemplary employee. Nice meat packing plant. Wonder what we'll get next. Looks like a cave. Sulfur cave? Alright. Item number SCP-3229. Object class Euclid. Special containment procedures. The entrance to SCP-3229 must be monitored by Foundation Naval Contingent to prevent any unauthorized access. The Foundation's nuclear submarine SCPF Johansson must remain stationed at the entrance to SCP-3229. In the event of a containment breach, Protocol Alert 27 is to be initiated immediately. Vessels assigned to the Area 55 Containment Force are to report to Site Dr. Yu and assigned to assistant in both exploration and security efforts when necessary. Submersibles assigned to exploration efforts are to report to MTF Gamma 6 Command. All submersible exploration efforts are to maintain a safe distance of 10 kilometers from any submerged SCP-3229-A settlement. All submersibles expedition commanders must have full knowledge of Protocol Alert 27. Area 55 is the epicenter of a stable perimeter around the westmost island in the SCP-3229 archipelago, with efforts being made to expand operations towards the Temple Island, northeast of Area 55. MTF Iota-13 and MTF Beta-44 are to aid with the expansion of the Foundation-held perimeter. If direct confrontation can be avoided, personnel are permitted to utilize lethal force against SCP-3229-A entities. Due to the durability of SCP-3229-A instances, small arms fire must be used in overlapping fields of fire. Hollow point rounds are recommended for engagement if small arms are to be used. Sample entities of SCP-3229-B are to be contained in a 5 meter by 5 meter containment tank of reinforced glass. No contact is to be made with SCP-3229-B entity, unless cleared by Dr. Isiago. Any experimentation with SCP-3229-B organisms must be undertaken in sealed protective gear. Any personnel victim to implementation by SCP-3229-B are to be terminated immediately. MTF Gamma 6 Deep Feeders is to continue investigation into the exact number of SCP-3229-O and account for any further hostile presence within SCP-3229. All findings containing information relevant to SCP-3229-O are to be reported to Site Director Yu. Any encountered SCP-3229-O entity must be engaged unless containment is at risk of being compromised. Description: SCP-329 is a spatial anomaly located within a cave system, redacted kilometers, from the southwest coast of Svalbard. The cave itself is situated in an islet approximately 18 square meters. Within these caves is an archipelago of 312 islands of varying size, situated within an area of approximately redacted square kilometers. This space is not to be reachable by any means other than the cave entrance, and as such appears to be separate from this plane of reality. The archipelago within SCP-3229 appears to have been inhabited by a pre-industrial civilization which has spread across the entirety of SCP-3229. The majority of islands inside SCP-3229 are covered in buildings of a non-Euclidean architecture. These buildings are largely constructed constructed of limestone and an unknown coral-like substance. Luminescent crystals provide lighting universally tinged in a pale green-yellow. Numerous glyphs are carved across the limestone portions of every building discovered in SCP-3229 thus far. These glyphs have no known anomalous properties and have been partially translated. The structures present throughout the archipelago range in size and complexity, with the more complex structures present on the larger islands within SCP-3229. The two most expansive islands within the archipelago are home to the palace structure and a primary temple respectively. The temple structure is currently unexplored by Foundation personnel. While the palace has been entered and multiple items of interest recovered, see addenda. The palace island is lightly inhabited, and evidence suggests that the occupants have migrated to a settlement beneath the ocean. Exploration attempts by MTF Gamma 6 have since confirmed this hypothesis. Further investigations have revealed that SCP-3229-0 is responsible for the creation of these submerged settlements by Redacted. The Temple Island, however, has been observed to maintain a consistent presence of SCP-3229-A entities, which have been observed to grow in numbers at times relating to the lunar cycle. It is unknown how SCP-3229-A instances maintain awareness of the lunar cycle. It is hypothesized that the SCP-3229-A presence on the Temple Island is directly related to the SCP-3229-O, which, according to recovered antiquity, is to receive communion with the priesthood at the height of the lunar cycle. The structures on the larger islands vary in size, with the majority being approximately 6.6 meters in height, 2 stories. The largest structure known to the Foundation, the primary temple, is 55 meters, 16.6 stories, in height. The majority of the smaller islands surveyed by Foundation teams bear minimal signs of life. Inhabited villages containing small numbers of SCP-3229-A entities are common. Observation has determined that the inhabitants of these villages spend a large majority of their time underwater as opposed to dwelling inside their constructed houses. The SCP-3229-A instances inhabiting the smaller islands do not migrate to the larger submerged settlements, but are instead found within reefs and similar natural formations close to the coast. It is probable some form of social hierarchy exists among SCP-3229-A instances, which prevents access to larger submerged settlements. Log 3229-01E. Initial entry. SCP-3229 is currently inhabited by a number of aquatic and amphibious lifeforms unidentified prior to discovery, with the most common entity hostile to Foundation personnel being SCP-3229-A. SCP-3229-A are humanoid amphibious hybrids that are the primary hostile inhabitants of SCP-3229. While some degree of variation exists between instances of SCP-3229-A, all entities exhibit a collection of common traits. Discolored blue-gray skin, coral-like growths commonly found around the cranium and protruding from near the shoulder blades, large dorsal fins, glassy eyes, numerous SCP-329-B instances visible moving beneath the skin. Ew. It is unknown if SCP-3229-A entities remain sentient after the implementation of SCP-3229-B. Recorded behavior suggests at least a rudimentary level of sapience, as SCP-3229-A entities are capable of ambush and limited strategy. SCP-3229-A entities appear to have some understanding of a religious process, evident by the behavior of SCP-3229-A entities on the Temple Island. Further investigation is required to determine the exact level of intelligence SCP-3229-A entities possess. SCP-3229-B is a parasitic lifeform which is responsible for the creation of SCP-3229-A entities. SCP-3229-B are worm-like organisms of varying length, commonly 2 to 4 inches in diameter. Instances of SCP-3229-B have a featureless exterior that is covered in a liquid produced from the skin of SCP-3229-B. This liquid is mostly suspected to be mutagen, although it is hypothesized to act as a lubricant. The entities enter a host via any available orifice. The mouth, eyes, anus are commonly utilized. SCP-3229-B has also been noted entering through artificial orifices in victims such as gunshot wounds or injuries caused by SCP-3229-A. This form of implementation is less common as SCP-3229-B gravitates towards an able-bodied host. The full process of SCP-3229-B implementation has been observed and documented. And your voice gets tired reading these. Experiment log 3229-B01I. Date redacted. Test subject D32311. Authorization. Site Dr. Yu. Experiment supervised by Dr. Issei Go. Begin log. 0. What is that, minutes? D3231145 is introduced to testing chamber restrained. SCP-3229-B organism is introduced to the testing chamber. D32311 admits audible distress. SCP-3229-B enters D32311 via oral implementation, dislocating D32311's jaw in the process. I'm gonna call him D32. Attempts at resistance by D32 are fruitless. More of them? Is that multiple people? Don't think so. Anyways, D32, hereby designated as host, begins violent spasms. X-ray indicates the SCP-3229-B organism is dividing to spread through the host's body. Initial division begins in the upper esophagus. SCP-3229-B has finished its division process. Multiple organs are situated around major organs and along... Organisms are situated around major organs and along muscle tissue. Host has lapsed into shock. Oops. SCP-3229-B organisms appear to pulsate. It is hypothesized this action is responsible for the dispersal of SCP-3229-B's mutagenic properties in a host. Host resumes spasms. However, X-ray and audio feeds indicate host is undergoing severe skeletal restructuring. Host remains conscious throughout the process. Host skin begins the rapid discoloration. Multiple growths appear in the host cranium and around the face. Growths have also appeared along the shoulder blades. No growth has currently breached the skin. Protrusions breach the skin, revealing the coral-like substance present on SCP-3229-A instances. Host's facial structure has been largely disordered. Host has finished skeletal restructuring. Dorsal fin is now visible and the lower limbs have become double-jointed. Hands of SCP-3229-A instance appear elongated, with digits 1.5 times the length of the original host's skin. Skin is now taut, revealing altered skeletal structure and SCP-3229-B instances. SCP-3229-B instances have resumed passive movement through SCP-3229-A. Host is now designated SCP-3229-A. Becomes agitated and breaches restraints. Security personnel enter testing chamber and attempt to subdue SCP-3229-A. SCP-3229-A breaches containment, showing marked increase in strength and durability. SCP-3229-A instance is terminated by security personnel after terminating multiple research staff, including Dr. Redacted. End log. Notes. It's still necessary to keep samples of 3229-B on site. If we can find out which part of their mutagen causes the host to gain that impressive level of strength, we could use it for our own means. Imagine a soldier with the ability to rip apart Kevlar with their bare hands. Can't say we couldn't use that, Dr. Asego. Oh boy, there's more. SCP-3229-B organisms are opportunistic but unable to infect a resisting host due to lack of physical strength. As a result, implementation is often undertaken upon captured hosts by SCP-3229-A entities. SCP-3229-B implementation is treated in a ritualistic fashion by SCP-3229-A instances. This is hypothesized to be due to a relationship between SCP-3229-B and SCP-3229-O. SCP-3229-O is an unidentified aquatic organism of unknown size and origin. Recovered sources refer to it as a significant figure within the pantheon of the archipelago's original civilization. It is known to be responsible for the creation of SCP-3229-B and, by proxy, SCP-3229-A. Recovered sources also state that only one SCP-3229-O instance remains, with the rest of the pantheon now extinct. While no physical encounters with SCP-3229-O have been made, it is probable that an SCP-3229-O entity exists. Protocol Alert 27 has been established to neutralize a possible hostile SCP-3229-O entity. Data redacted. Access the further information on SCP-3229-O. Protocol Alert 27 is limited to Level 4 personnel. Addendum 01-RI. Multiple items of note have been recorded by MTF Gamma-6 and Foundation forces responsible for expanding the secure perimeter. The total log is currently 312 retrieved items. For complete records, see 3229-TL1/retrieval. Item designation Slate 01-T. A limestone tablet on the original use of the island now. What? A limestone tablet on the original use of the island now housing area 55. The island was considered god-forsaken and a path towards heretical lands. Location recovered Area 55. Item designation Sample 3229-B/01. SCP-3229-B mutagen stored in a clear glass vial, while evidence of the SCP-3229 civilization's capacity for glasswork. It also indicates some study was undertaken by the civilization prior to wide-scale implementation. Location recovered Palatial Island. Item designation Slate 05-T/MC. A series of 12 limestone columns inscribed. The columns are a record of the ruling family's attempt to stop implementation of SCP-3229-B. This attempt led to the ruling class being overthrown by a religious organization, which expanded implementation and led the civilization under the Blessed Sea to seek communion. Further translation pending. Location recovered redacted. Item designation Slate 02-T/L. A limestone mural with artistic carvings. The mural appears to show initial contact with SCP-3229-O by the 3229 civilization. This contact appears hostile, as multiple figures are shown spearing SCP-3229-O from a vessel. All these figures are shown contorted in their vessel while multiple large tentacles surround them. Location recovered Palatial Island. Item designation Item 12-M. A small toy constructed of seaweed. It appears to be a figure of SCP-3229-B. Location recovered Village redacted. Item designation Item 44-M. Item of pottery. Images show initial discovery of SCP-3229-B by unknown party, who presents SCP-3229-B to a group of individuals. Final third of pottery shows family of 3 undergoing SCP-3229-B implementation. Location recovered Village redacted. Item designation, Item 3229-0/151. Redacted by order of MTF Gamma 6 Command. Nope. Item designation, Slate 07-S. A large mosaic, constructed of limestone and redacted. The image shows the religious heads of SCP-3229 civilization, now appearing as SCP-3229-A entities, guiding multiple figures underwater where SCP-3229-O entity resides. Further images show worship of SCP-3229-O and multiple tentacles destroying a larger landmass with unidentified structures. Scattered items of text detail a time of heretics, and salvation being achieved when Great Redacted swallows the land and brings all into the Blessed Sea. Location recovered, redacted. And Addendum 3229/02-1DA. As of 17, what is that? October 10th, redacted? No. October 17th. Area 55 has been assaulted twice by large groups of SCP-3229-A entities. Further security resources are to be dispatched to Area 55 and made available to MTF Iota-13 and MTF Beta-44. Due to the inefficient nature of current munitions against SCP-3229-A, gyrojet rounds are to be assigned to all MTF units. The Area 55 Armory must replace all unnecessary small arms with high caliber or explosive weaponry. Further expansion of Area 55 perimeter is not to be attempted until sufficient reinforcements are acquired. Addendum 3229/-O-025. As of May 7th, redacted, these surveyed islands to the southeast of Area 55 have been sunk. Included in these islands was Research Outpost 34. Preliminary reports indicate 97% of the on-site staff were lost. MTF Gamma 6 were the first to respond to the event, picking up 5 survivors. All surviving personnel were exposed to the cognito hazard and were unable to provide further insight into the event. MTF Gamma 6 has requested additional resources be allocated for Protocol Alert 27. Area 55 has in addition been provided with on-site nuclear warheads as required by updated Protocol Alert 27. Further seismic activity of this magnitude is expected. Interview 3229-0/G6. Warning, the following file is level 4/3229, classified. Any attempt to access the file without level 4329 authorization will be logged and will lead to immediate disciplinary action. Date redacted. Interviewed Agent redacted Devereaux, MTF Gamma 6. Interviewer redacted. MTF Gamma 6 Command. Forward. On the initial encounter and threat assessment of SCP-3229-0. Begin log. G6 Agent, for the record, please recount initial contact with SCP-3229-0. Devereaux. Yes, sir. We were on board the submersible when the entity made contact. Agent, please name the submersible. It was the SCP-F Thurston. She was designed for stealth operations. Seemed like it worked fine for dodging the fishies. Sorry, sir. The A's. Anyways, we were a long way out and really fucking deep. I can't remember the exact depth. We just passed several submerged ruins that were translating and cataloging. Looked like one of the settlements above ground, but it had been sunk somehow. What did you find in this submerged area? A lot of intel on the O's, accounts on the B's, being used to turn people into fishies, so they could be closer to their god. We also found out that the O's influence the fishies are the fishies are worshippers. And from what we could glean from the text, they can receive commands. The whole place seemed to be some sort of a library, with records of everything. We even got its name, redacted. We are maybe a tenth of the way through when something hit the hull and we stopped. Was it the O entity? No, it was an A, but not your usual fishy. He had this weird robe. We couldn't tell if it was clothing or part of his body. Molinaro took 3 guys down into the airlock. They were ready to take the thing out. It just swam in, calm as anything. Didn't even seem to notice the guys. It was mumbling shit. In its own language. We assumed it was the same as those glyphs. Same language, I mean. Nobody knew how to translate that shit. It's only ever been read, so the fact that it was speaking to us just weirded everyone out. None of the crew had any idea what the A was saying. I'm telling you, sir, the whole situation was just nuts. We didn't even think those things could be passive. It kept mumbling and mumbling. Molinaro was asking if they could lock it. Lock it in as partial containment. Then out of nowhere it started getting agitated, not hostile, but the chants were getting louder. It sounded like it was scared. And this was the O entity made contact, correct? Pause. Do we have permission to smoke in here, sir? Agent, please answer the question. Yeah, that's when the thing hit us. Whole sub rocked to the side. Molinaro and the others got blown out of the airlock. Some kind of fucking tentacle grabbed them. I never got a good look. But you could tell the thing was big. It had the sub pinned completely dead in the water. And it was at this point the Thurston attempted to engage. It had 400mm torpedoes, 2 of them. They're designed to tear through warships. They hit the thing, it bled, and it didn't even seem to notice. Launched the 553s too, just to make the thing angry. Just made the thing angry. I saw those munitions hit it, blow open a part of it. The thing's body just morphed, contorted, and repaired the damage, and grew some new body part. That's when I got off the bridge. So what was your next course of action? I was gearing up to try and lead the thing away with some divers distract it, maybe then the bridge got hit. Distract it maybe, then the bridge got hit. Must have been cognate hazard or something because they all fucking lost it. People were already freaking out. The sub was being crushed. The bridge crew going nuts just made everything worse. They were broadcasting over the intercom while Zero was squeezing the sub. But you had already seen the Zero. How are you not affected? I have no idea, sir. Maybe I just seen enough of it. Maybe it was just fucking miracle, I don't know. What were the cognita hazards, effects of Zero, that you witnessed? They were all fucking babbling, sir. It was just like the fishies we picked up. One of the lieutenants was clawing his eyes out, kept saying he could feel something slithering behind them. Fujimori was up there as well. Poor bastard had a pretty high resistance too. He was trained for these situations. He was trying to surface to get away from the thing. He saved everyone on the boat. What was Captain Redacted's situation? Cap was the worst. He was on the ground, fetal position and everything. He was just mumbling to himself. It wasn't even fucking English. He was speaking the same language as the fishy, just shaking on the floor and chanting the same 3 things over and over. How was the entity incapacitated? It wasn't. The diving team went out without me. The fishy we picked up was in there still. No idea how, they just grabbed it and took it out with them. Maybe the extra movement distracted it, or maybe it didn't even care about the sub to begin with. However it was, something made it lose interest in the Thurston for a moment. Fuji just took us up, slammed right into the thing. It slapped us up briefly, but the divers did something to distract it. It let us go. Fuji clapped as soon as we hit the surface. Was there any contact from the dive team after the entity disengaged? Nothing comprehensible. They got hit by the cognita hazard, I guess. Alright, Agent. Final question. Could you give a proper threat assessment regarding the entity? What? If the O entity were to become actively hostile, could we stop it? Would Alert 27 be able to stop it? In silence. You're dismissed, Agent Devereaux. Agent Devereaux exits the interview room. End log. Ooh, my voice is getting tired already. Only read what, 2? think we can do one more, see how that goes. I'm gonna go get some water first, be right back. I'm back. Probably get a card or something. Just let the stream know that I'm away. Well, let's read one more. It's a low number. SCP-239. Never heard of it. Well, it's obvious never heard of any of these. Object Class Getter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-239 is to be kept within a one-room cell furnished with one bed, one EKG machine, and one IV, to be filled with pentobarbital mixed with data expunged, to be refilled daily. Under no circumstances SCP-239 to be removed from her containment area at any given time. The walls of the cell are to be coated in a telekill lead alloy. Only Class 2 personnel are allowed any contact with SCP-239 at any time. All personnel guarding SCP-239's containment area are to be equipped with telekill headgear. SCP-148. Subject's proper name is Seguros Defans Doter. Under absolutely no conditions should the subject ever be awakened. Any personnel found attempting to awaken the subject will be immediately terminated. Description: SCP appears to be an 8-year-old girl, 1 meter in height and 20 kilograms in weight. Subject has shoulder-length blonde hair. Upon closer inspection, the subject's eyes shimmer a gray-green shade. Subject seems to want a previously undiscovered form of radiation, which has been named Redacted. These waves seem to be harmless in low concentrations, but in higher concentrations they could break down matter at a subatomic level. SCP-239 seemingly has the ability to do whatever she expresses a will to do. Put simply, the subject can do anything that she truly wants to do on a basal psychological level as long as she is conscious. Fortunately, she only seems to be able to affect herself and her immediate surroundings. Therefore, if she can see it, she can change it. It would not be the most prudent course of action, however, to try and test how powerful she can be. She seems to be able to create and affect living matter. For example, when D-Class personnel accidentally caused her harm, she simply wished them away. Fortunately, when the subject was made to feel guilty for what she had done, she wished them back. SCP-239's self-preservation instinct makes her virtually invincible while she is conscious. Subject's skin cannot be punctured by anything except SCP-148. As a method of controlling the subject's ability, she has been told that she is a witch. This, besides improving morale greatly, makes her believe that she is unable to use her abilities outside of a pre-approved list of spells given to her by the SCP Foundation. This will hopefully prevent any and all attempted escapes. However, the subject is to be kept calm at all times to prevent any subconscious wish of harm to herself or others. Origin: SCP-239 came to the attention of the Foundation soon after her birth in Redacted. Approximately 3 hours after her birth, Redacted Hospital was destroyed by an unexplained explosion. The press was informed that it was due to a gas leak. SCP teams were dispatched for the next 8 years. The subject was raised under SCP care. As of Redacted, 20 Redacted. The subject is to be kept in a medically induced coma until further notice. This decision was made by Data Expunged. SCP-239 is permanently contained on Site-17. Note from Dr. Redacted. Date: December 26, 2004. Who the hell thought it'd be a good idea to tell her about Santa Claus, and then tell her it was all just a story? Now we have another potential SCP to deal with, but we can't catch him because he's magic. Dr. A. Clef's report. My analysis of the situation has led me to the conclusion that SCP-239 is an unacceptable containment and security risk. Although several proposals have been made reusing her for containing other SCPs, the example of SCP-953, and others must serve as a stark reminder of the risks of overestimating the Foundation's capability to control SCPs with reality-altering powers. I would therefore like to make the following proposal. A piercing implement will be constructed of SCP-148 capable of penetrating SCP-239's otherwise impenetrable skin. This tool will be used to kill SCP-239 while she is asleep, and her powers are neutralized because of the danger of SCP-239 awakening and resisting termination. It is in my recommendation that the selected operative carry SCP-668 as well, in order to minimize complications. One of the dangers of this procedure is the possibility that SCP-239 will awaken and perceive the operative as a friend or a good person, thus changing reality to match. It is for this reason that I would like to volunteer to carry out the procedure personally. A review of my personal file would indicate that my data expunged should allow me to carry out the operation even after a reality shift of this nature. Clef. Well, that was a nice and short one. My voice is quite tired. I'm gonna call it here. Good night.